Utopias, dystopias, and today's technologies hosted by Johannes Katzen, bringing a global conversation discussing technologies that affect us all.
Hello and welcome. My name is Johannes and I'm your host for this show. And I want to welcome Somil Gupta today. We're going to be speaking about the P2P economy and also a collaborative and sharing economies, these terms, what they mean. And we will have hopefully a great discussion. I want to introduce you to Somil. So he was the AI influencer of the year in the Nordic region. And what better way to start the new year than with such a guest, and also start a whole new show with you as the first guest. And he's the CEO of Algorithmic Scale.
Yep.
And I wanted to also say to the audience that the way that I met Somil was that he was saying something very interesting on Andreas Welch's podcast, What's the Buzz, about moving AI from a project management perspective to a product management perspective, and I think that fits very well with my own ethic in this area. So I just contacted Somil, and here we are. Let me start with the first question. Could you just explain to me and to my audience what is the P2P economy? What is the sharing economy? What is the collaborative economy? These are terms that are being thrown around. What is their meaning? What differentiates them? And could you just give us a little introduction to them?
Yes. So I'm going to just give my interpretation because I think there are a lot of terms that are thrown out there, and I think I like to kind of define the terms in the context. So here we are talking more about how do we solve some of the world's problems together. What is the way to accelerate the adoption of new technologies and new ways of working using AI? So in that context, okay, let maybe go back a few decades or maybe
Hmm.
centuries. So 200 years ago, when we were starting with industrial revolution, I just came across one newspaper article where people felt that they are being forced into employment, and that they were happy because then you had more agrarian societies and people would organize themselves into guilds and communities, and things were good. Productivity was not that high, but then there was no measure for productivity. So when the industrial revolution happened, and people were concerned that they will be forced into employment. So it was not the primary kind of it was not a primary structure for people to operate in, and then it was something artificially created. Fast forward 200 years, and now we see organizations and employment models as standard, and entrepreneurship is something that is considered a little bit out of the way or something different than the norm. So if you look at the what organizations really bring, if I to drill down to three elements, I would say they are efficiency, uh, orchestration, and trust. So when organizations become a legal entity, then they are under the government oversight, and that's one way of us saying, okay, we can trust this entity, and that we can give them some kind of accountability. So if they mess up, then there is a consequence for them, and that prevents them from messing up. The second part is the orchestration, basically, which every organization there's a structure and the way it's organized. So we ensure that the people are working in a certain direction and people are working together as a unit, so that there is alignment in what they do, and then there is synergy. And the third part is basically the efficiency, and that goes to the systems and processes and things like that. Now, over the last 50, 60 years, especially after the Second World War, we saw a lot of progress into project management, program management. In that was also the time when when ERPs came into being. The modern enterprise architecture came into being, and we have defined a way of working. But now, I think 10 or 15 years ago, we saw a new phenomena, which was social networking. We saw a rise of startups like Uber or Airbnb. And if we see that the Airbnb or Uber provides the same three characteristics of an organization, they provide us with a way to trust each other. They provide us a way to have efficiency by having a streamlined process of booking and delivering a service for both the riders and the drivers. And they also have an orchestration. And basically, there's a way in which they help find, I don't get randomly connected with a driver somewhere in another part of the world. So they have a means to orchestrate as well. So now the question comes is, now do we really need the organizations? Or is there another way? And that kind of, can we continue the way we were living, what seemed like a natural way of working 200 years ago? Can we bring that back, right? And have people become more accountable, or have people do more than just kind of working in a organized setup? I think that's what the P2P or peer-to-peer economy, in my sense, is. How do we enable people to interact with each other in more meaningful ways, so that we build synergies between, for example, what we are doing here right now. I come from a background and a knowledge source, and you have something, but together we're trying to create something new. And that's the synergy. That's the beauty of 1 plus 1 equal to 3.
Yeah.
The sharing economy then is basically when we use this platform, and then it's not owned by someone. I don't have to buy the software, I don't have to buy the license. I can just pay for one webinar. So I can use it as much as I need. And that's the issue about ownership. So because in the past, if you look at how the business has there was a sales era, and then there was a marketing era, and then there was a branding era. Now we are living in the social media era. So back then in the sales era in 1940s and 50s, availability of goods was a big challenge. And I come from India, and we still had the license systems even until 89 or something like that. So things were not available. So hence ownership was a big issue, and owning things, what gave you access, and owning things also what gave you status. But today, I think we are living in the world of abundance. We have more things than we need. So then, is ownership really a good way to manage the resources? Because you might talk about my resource and your resources, but if you look at the planet as a whole, then there are only finite resources.
Yes.
So as we see more and more, as we build more and more things, we have to start thinking about more orchestrating these resources in a more effective way, rather than just putting our labor on it. I think that brings us to the sharing economy. How can we use these assets more effectively within our economy, so that none of us have unmet needs, but at the same time we do not create wastage in the environment? And the collaborative economy, in my opinion, is basically that we have one of the kind of after effects of industrial growth, of fast industrial growth and capitalistic. So I'm not making any point here against for or against capitalism as such, but one of the consequences is that it has created some imbalances in our world. And it has given we have now a situation where there are some very wicked problems when you look at poverty, when we look at hunger, when you look at the sicknesses in the
Yanis
world.
Varoufakis actually says that we're no longer in capitalism. We're now in techno-feudalism, is what he calls it. And so it's basically
Yeah.
these really large organizations, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. They basically dominate everybody because they have the computing power and they have the data that we give them. Right, Facebook
Yes.
also. So you're speaking about this as well, right?
So yes, to solve some of these wicked problems, you need people, you need organizations, we need government, we need startups, we need the whole ecosystem to work towards them. I think, and that is how I define the collaborative economy. So rather than trying to put people into the organization, how about we build organizations around people, right? So that's more collaborative economy for me. How do we orchestrate different players in the ecosystem and align them towards solving a common problem, and then we basically divide the task between us. So there's things that large organizations can do, there's things that government can do, there's things can individuals do, and then how do we make sure that they can work together seamlessly without any friction and still get the job done.
Mhm.
That's how I define a collaborative economy, but that's just
Yeah,
my
but you
definition.
have to have the right incentive structures for that, right? So basically,
Yes.
the collaborative economy will have to pay a data scientist, as much as Facebook does right now, ideally, or more.
Well, data scientists nowadays very difficult to get hold of. So it's, I mean, when we work with smaller companies, I think there is a big need for because they can't afford and they can't have the resources to experiment with
Yeah.
people. So we have to democratize these skill sets and make these tools available.
Mhm.
And I think leveraging on few key individuals with specialized skills doesn't scale in most
Yeah, so right now,
situations.
example, does a lot of that, right? So it democratizes its skills. So
Yes.
so the skill sets that you now need to work on the Google Cloud with Vertex AI or on the Amazon Web Services with SageMaker is a much smaller one than the one I needed when I started working at
Yes.
eBay, like in 2015. So you can spin out amazing algorithms pretty easily without having to know all of the mathematics that go into them anymore, right? So
Yes, and we can actually now cater to many long tail problems that do not fall into a typical organizational or an enterprise strategy.
yeah,
So now we have an opportunity to also focus on those problems that are not a big market, so to speak, for organizations, but they're still have a huge social impact or huge economic impact, or who kind of make people vulnerable.
yeah. But how do you do that? Because how do you fund that, right? So this is the real problem, I think, with the capitalism or techno-feudalism for that matter. Um, is that you can't fund things that don't make an immediate profit, it seems, right? No one is interested in not getting the return that they could get elsewhere, so they want to invest in the thing that gives them the highest return.
Yeah, but I think it has gone a bit better because now when we look at these large companies, they are actually putting a lot of technology and tools out there, most of it either free or very low cost, and also investing a lot on training. So I think what is missing now is have enough people who are aware of enough problems, and then have the willingness to solve it. So you spoke about incentive model, right? So that I think that is so. If everyone is working, I mean, I think there've been a lot of different kind of topics here.
Yes.
Universal basic income,
Yeah.
for example, right? Things like this. So, is there a way to free people from the day-to-day to kind of help people so that they can afford the basic stuff and keep on with their life while focusing their effort on something
Yes.
bigger? Now that I think we are still we still have a long
But
way to
then
go.
also, I like to come back to this other thing, right? So Google and Amazon make it very easy to use their tools, right? So and to build
Yes.
amazing things. So they democratize it, they make it cheap. So, but they are not part of the P2P economy, right? They are the giants. These are the things we were talking about earlier. Why, they are the dominant players, and we cannot forget about that, right? We kind of, and in some ways we do. Something I do. I use their tools, but there is no such thing as such tools in a peer economy quite yet, where it's nothing built that exists that is really peer to peer, that takes that profit model of or that sort of what you were speaking about, right? And it offers the same sort of easy, democratized, data science tools, for example, as Google and Amazon does.
I mean, there are, I mean, so let's say if I look at like Kickstarter, for example, which allows entrepreneurs to release their projects and almost anyone to kind of fund or micro fund So there are some things that is being driven in that way. I even consider like the gig economy,
Hmm.
maybe like Upwork or something like that, which also facilitates. Because I could see, I mean, from India, I mean, I could see a lot of a big change in terms of how people used to work and now how they're working right now with the gig economy. So there is some work happening in the P2P world, but I think it is still limited to the needs of the business. I think what we are looking for when you talk about these data analytics tools is basically to look at needs of the people. So let's say there is a village in some part of the world which is facing a problem, let's say erosion of soil, the topsoil, and now you need a solution for that. Now, who is going to work on that? Or there is some part of the world where it's getting flooded every year, and they need a solution to ensure that the water doesn't come in and destroy everything, right? Who is working on their problem? So I think the problems are defined right now. One of the things is that organizations work on the economies of scale. The problem with economies of scale is that the entire model that we have is financial in nature, right? And we're looking at financial profits and
Yeah, could we
financial
unpack
losses.
this a little bit? What do you mean by economies of scale? Could you just explain that so that people who haven't heard this term have I know of course what you mean because I studied economics actually, but if I hadn't studied economics I wouldn't know. So.
So economies of scale, in a very simple way, it says that as you do more of what you're doing, the cheaper it gets to do it.
Yeah,
So if I'm manufacturing a product, if I manufacture 100, then it's going to have cost per, let's say, unit cost of X. If I make it 10,000, then my unit cost is going to be maybe 0.2x or 0.3x. So because I have commonalities, because I have synergies, because I can centralize a lot of infrastructure and fixed costs, so the fixed cost get distributed over a large number of items, and hence my unit cost uh, for every item comes down. And that's the kind of basic logic of economies of scale. What it does, it incentivizes us to build more, produce more, because now once I have the problem is, let's say if I built a factory for that has a capacity of let's say 10,000 per month, and now I need to ensure that I keep making 10,000, because if the moment I make 5,000, my cost goes more than double,
clearly.
right? So just like there are economies of scale, there's also diseconomies of scale. At certain point of time, the marginal effort the marginal cost keeps increasing, and as you scale down in an high scale infrastructure, the unit cost increases non-linearly. So the incentive in working in economies of scale is that you need a way to produce a lot and then find ways to get rid of it. And then we see things like you need to have a huge marketing budget to stimulate the demand. You need to have a lot of discounts so that to actually push this to the people, right? That's how the economies of scale typically works. So you need volume, you need mass. What we're talking about in the P2P is basically we're solving a large number of smaller problems. So the business model essentially is profitable even if it is for, let's say, 5 people or 10 people. I am solving a smaller problem, but I can solve a number of those problems. So I have more diversity and low volume. So if I have volume on one side and, let's say, variability on the other axis, then low variability, high volume is where my economies of scale is. What we need now is low volume, high variability solutions. And that requires a very different approach.
Yes, and so you're saying that there are the solutions are in this thing called the P2P or peer-to-peer economy.
The P2, yes, because in P2P, I'm not only concerned about the financial ROI, I'm also looking at the social ROI. I'm also looking at the economic ROI. I'm looking at impact. So, in a typical organization structure, when I'm only, if I'm only built for high scale, um, interestingly, the social cost or the environmental costs are called externalities, things that are not that are somehow impact, but something that I'm not responsible for. that approach is
So the
not going to work.
costs that are
Yes,
basically produced by the things, so pollution, for example, they are borne by all of society and not by the
yes,
person who does the pollution.
yes. Because for the organization, it's an externality. That means they are not responsible for it. But now, because as we are getting more and more integrated, that model is not going to work. So we need to consider the total cost, which includes the cost, the human cost, the environmental cost, the social cost, the economic cost, all cost, and optimize for that. So now when we look at that, and we look at the complete all the cost, then we can see that the scale or only like building a lot of stuff and then trying to push it is not a good strategy, because it might give you a good ROI on the financial cost. It doesn't give us a good ROI on the environmental
To
cost
be
and the social
clear, I want
cost.
to say that also on the upside, right? So that is, if you're building something that has a low cost and that has an enormous potential, that is actually also a positive externality in the sense that, so for example, a beekeeper, to just explain what that is to the audience, so a positive
Yeah.
externality is that when a beekeeper keeps bees, she might have all these pollinations that are going on in the farmer's land that the farmers benefit from, that she actually doesn't benefit from herself, because she just gets the honey at the end, and then she can sell the honey, and that's the money that she gets from that is her benefit, the private benefit. But then the social benefit from keeping bees is much larger, because all of these farmers have now pollinated plants and they get benefit from that. But the beekeeper could actually, if the beekeeper could keep an optimal number of bees, there would maybe be more of them. Because but then she doesn't get the benefit from it, and she only optimizes for her own honey production.
Yeah.
So just to explain this, and this could also be in technology, right? The same thing could apply in technology. So that if we measure the costs, we should also measure the potential benefit technology can have. Because if we can incentivize for that, right, we will be incentivized directly for building technologies that are maximally beneficial, not just not
Yes.
harmful, right? So I think this is a very important distinction, and I think we can get there, right? Why should we only just consider the downside of technologies?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are some things that you can't buy, like clean air.
Right.
You just have to live with what you have. You can't buy that. It doesn't matter how much money you
Well,
have.
maybe you can buy it in a locational sense, right? So if you can afford a higher rent or higher mortgage, you can move to a place where the air is cleaner. Then so
For some time,
yeah,
yes. For some time, yes. But then,
of course,
because the
of course,
scale at which we are working, operating, and now that we have this global supply chains and you have global distribution and supply networks, and then we are shipping things from all over the world, I don't think the impact is gonna remain
no,
localized
no,
anymore. And I think we have seen that due to COVID, I don't know, it had this weird weather elastic effect that for the first time it became real for a lot of people. And I remember one of the thing, there was one of the states where people uh, could see Himalayas from their homes, and they were able to see it after almost 200
yeah,
years.
wow,
After 200 years, they were able to see Himalayas from their
wow,
homes. So now they could just see the impact of
yes,
pollution,
yes, yes.
very, very, very
Oh,
visible
this
impact.
is interesting, because this would probably make them think about it a bit more. Hopefully,
Oh
will make
yeah,
them
oh yeah,
think about it
I hope so.
a bit more. Yeah, no, this is very interesting, talking about these kinds of things. But I think that definitely there's unequal effects in the short term, or even in the medium term, where people who will be dying from climate change, that are most likely going to be more poor people, and people in the global south, so to speak, rather than people in the global north. And that's,
Yeah,
and I guess, the benefits of pumping more oil into the atmosphere are also consumed mostly in the global north, and not consumed in the global south. So it's unequal on both sides. It's really something that also you might also want to consider.
very interesting that many of the large economies in the world, let's not name them, but you'll know, they are now realizing that you can't just dump problems in someone else's backyard and wash your hands with it. So now we are so integrated that what goes around does come around, and it comes around very, very fast these days. So you cannot just be saying, okay, let's do something elsewhere because it's not our problem. Now it is your problem, and it becomes your problem very, very quickly. So I think the mindset and the structures, political, social, that we have built up, it's interesting how how they progress, because so far they did not have these feedback loops, and suddenly they're getting a lot of feedback on even small step change thanks to the global connectivity of the world. So I think it's also very interesting to see that how do these enable, because these are also enablers. We don't work in a vacuum. We work in societies governed by governments, and so we also see how does that ecosystem
Mhm.
evolve.
And how does the peer-to-peer economy, to feed back into the conversation about that, help with all of these problems?
See, I think peer-to-peer economy is basically, I believe that people, given the right incentive, given the right tools, I think most people, they have the urge to do something good, because after a point of time, you realize that the true meaning that you derive is not so much from the things that you own, but it's the stuff that you do. And I personally see, I'm seeing that there's a lot of awareness about the legacy that we are leaving behind in one way or another. People are becoming more conscious of that, so they want to do more. And the meaning that you derive from working or helping someone else, that feeling is enormous. So I think if we can provide the opportunity, the tools, the skills, the awareness, and the means to people, I think they, and also orchestration. Again, we think about as a just as an organization, efficiency, orchestration, and trust. You need all three. If you can provide that in a non-organizational framework, I think there's a lot of potential to be that we can leverage
I
here.
want to ask you there because I was having this discussion with Ashish Kumar Singh the other day about the decentralized way of doing business rather than So I feel like this is connected to what we were talking about earlier with Google and Amazon providing simple tools. So how is basically this idea of decentralization of organizations, which is a big topic in technology right now, DAOs and so on. How does that connect to the peer-to-peer or sharing economy or collaborative economy? And again, could you make this more clear, actually, this difference between these collaborative and sharing, and that I'm still feeling a little bit shaky about what these
Yeah,
terms mean.
I will. Okay, I will try my best to do that. So first of all, I think back 30, 40 years ago, there was a big discussion about centralization versus decentralization. A lot of research papers that we have read and a lot of case studies that were done, whether one model is better or the other model. Fortunately, I think we are past that. So we know that there is no absolute centralization and there is no absolute decentralization, right? It's you need a way of orchestration. So I think my favorite operating model is where the some of the topics like governance, security, some of these things are centralized versus the actual execution is more decentralized. So it's more about how we structure ourselves. We need both depending upon the context. Why it works, how it connects to the P2P or collaborative economy is that the degree to which you can focus on smaller, let's say, niche segment or niche problems depends upon the degree of centralization. Sorry, the degree of decentralization, right? So more decentralized the decision making of an organization is, more autonomy they will have to do something in a specific local niche segment. Now, if an organization is completely centralized, right, then you typically try to solve the big problems of the world, right? And then you say, okay, for example, I want to build a global platform to do X. That's a more centralized way of framing a problem. What's the decentralized way of framing a problem is, okay, we want to enable innovation or local innovation in these communities or in these areas, right? So the framing changes. Now, depending upon how the organizations are set, the degree of decentralization, they have so much power to enable others to work in a decentralized way. Now, a company like Uber cannot be centralized and offer a peer-to-peer kind of a network-based services. It's very, very difficult. Yes, the services that you provide will be a reflection of how you're structured, right? So
Could you
this is
break
why
this down a bit
Google
more? Yeah,
is,
that's really
yeah.
interesting. The Uber
So
case,
there is
I
a
think the Uber case is
there is a
particularly interesting.
reason why Google is structured into independent teams. There's a reason why the Amazon is structured into tribes, in each tribe owning a product or a service. There's a reason why a company like Uber always, is so decentralized. Because if you are offering a decentralized service, right, then you have to make decision because you're interfacing with the environment at a local level. That means if you want to have a short feedback loop between let's say an event and a response to that event, the decision making has to be delegated to that node which is experiencing it. So by the nature of your interaction with the environment, it makes it impossible for these companies to have a centralized structure, right?
Yeah.
So a peer-to-peer, any company who wants to facilitate peer-to-peer has to be decentralized in one way or another to be effective.
Can we make a distinction also between, there's this idea of hierarchical, because it can still be, so it could still be a hierarchical structure, but it is decentralized in the sense that there are some semi-independent nodes, right, as you call them. So, for example, London will have someone from Uber here. There will be how to say, there is, a big office here, not a headquarters, but a large office of Google, of Google here, of Uber here, of all kinds of organizations. And they also have to be in France, and they have to have something in Germany, and they have to have something. So that's what you're talking about, right? But they're all.
Yes, so the degree, that's why I talk about the degree. What the degree means is what is the fine. I mean, if I don't talk about decisions as a more kind of topic, but I say, okay, what is the degree of investment relative to their P&L that a, that an entity can make locally versus globally?
Mhm,
I think that is how I would say I would look at this degree, because the degree to which you can take decisions locally or make financial commitments locally, to that degree you will be incentivized to kind of solve the problem of the region where you're located,
mhm, mhm,
and to enable solving the problems, right? So if you are highly decentralized, let's say if I'm completely decentralized in decision making, 100% of my decisions are decentralized. Okay, that's not possible,
mhm,
but let's assume it for. So then that unit in London is committed to London,
mhm,
right? Then means everything that they will do will be in that boundary,
mhm,
and that's how they will try to optimize themselves, because that is their market, that's their economy, right?
mhm,
So it is in their interest also to enable those peer-to-peer networks that can help them solve the problem. So there is so much a peer-to-peer network can do, but you see, the peer-to-peer network is good at coming up with ideas or coming up with solutions. But when you want to implement those solutions, if you want to have an effect that is larger or that is much bigger, you need the you need additional levers to push that or make that happen. And that's where the collaboration comes into picture. The collaboration is basically how we are making decisions in what kind of forums versus what kind of power we have to effect a change. I think at a P2P level, we could be very good. I mean, let's say we are like-minded and we want to do this, and we could come up with great ideas. But until we have enough firepower or enough muscle power to do effect a change, there's nothing we can do about it. But let's say tomorrow Google London or Uber London or Amazon London decides to team up with us because they think this is a great idea. The amount of impact that they can create in the society because of the muscle power that they have, that could be great, compared to if you and I try to do that. So the peer-to-peer network is great for coming up with ideas, new solutions, stuff like that. But to implement them, you do need engines. They are also who are also empowered, and that's where the collaborative part comes into picture. And you also need some resources and assets that are available to you, and that's where I think the shared economy plays important part. So these are really three kind of legs of a chair. In a sense, you can't have one without the other. You can't have a collaborative engine without having some form of peer-to-peer people engagement. You can't have without having the shared assets, resources to work with. So together, I think they form what we talk about this. We call it the prosumeristic culture or a P2P culture.
Theoretically, you could work, peer to peer sort of on peer to peer problems using Google infrastructure. Like you see, this is where I would come back to that again, because Google again is not, peer to peer, and it's quite a big player, right? So does it have to be this way? Does it have to be this way? Because there's this problem that I see is they have all of the computing power, right? So it would it have to be this way, or can we share computing power as well? Can we share the data, right? So can the data, well, it's complicated because of privacy issues and so on, but can we have a structure that is decentralized in a way where we own our data? Each individual owns their data, right? So it's part of decentralization. Essentially, you need to. So, for example, in order to decentralize AI, you would need to decentralize the compute, right? The compute power, meaning you'd have to have different people owning parts of the compute, right? So because you can already do a lot of things in parallel, right? And even in the Google data center, right, there are tons and tons of different computers, and it's already parallelized and distributed to all of these machines as separate entities. So why can't we just own a piece of that, right? So if a whole city like London, each person has a little box at their house, and you can rent the compute power just as you would from Google, then you could rent it from the people as well, right? So that is kind of related to this, but then there's ownership there then, because
Yeah, but also the question of efficiency. See, because again, see, decentralized, even the most decentralized business models need efficiency.
Mhm.
So they would have some centralized components
Oh, yeah, 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 for sure.
to do it, right?
Hmm.
So the degree to which we are able to use the cloud and compute and memory is the degree to which Google is able to centralize their investments and make it available to
So
everyone.
you don't see any problem with Google then in that sense, because I see the problem of this, huge sort of monopoly on augmented intelligence, AI, monopoly on data, right? It's these are monopolies in some sense, and I think this is contrary to what you're saying. Also, the power of the people, right?
So see, because I don't think there is a, I mean, I don't think there is a purist solution. I am more pragmatic in that view, and I look at, okay, what's available to me right now,
Okay, yeah.
and what's the best I can do right now with that. Because of course we could paint a picture of like utopia,
Hmm.
as you say in your thing, but the question is, have we ever in our history of mankind ever had that utopia?
No, no, no. Of course not.
I don't
No, no,
recollect
no.
that, right? So it's usually based on everything. I mean, if even if you look at the railroad revolution that happened,
Hmm.
the trains themselves were decentralized that run, but the lines were still centralized and owned by monopolies. So we could have an argument.
Economists would call this a natural economy, a natural monopoly, which means that because the cost is so large, the initial cost, the forefront cost that you have to expand to build a railroad network, that then it's argued by economists that this is best owned by the state. And actually, in fact, most mainstream economists, argue for that. And this,
I think that has happened. If you look at the Amazon supply chain network, or if you look at the Google's data center, or if you look at the Uber's backbone, I think that that's exactly what happened, because they had the vision and the courage to invest in that, and then see, because they also understand that they can only go to some extent if only they own it. Well, I mean, I'm if you're paying like a tax every month for privacy or for storage, I mean, it's the same model essentially. If if you look at it,
The difference is we have no democratic control, right? So we pride ourselves in this democratic ethos, but
see,
then
there is a market economics that will come into play because we cannot have like a pure monopoly in that sense because antitrust laws. So of course there will be competition by law.
yeah,
So I don't think Amazon, if yeah, if Amazon was the only cloud provider in the market, and then
mm-hmm.
I was forced to use that, then there was this question, I think we have some kind of oligopoly
Yes, exactly.
where, but even within that oligopoly, it is not that I could just, if I go with Amazon, then I have to only use Amazon.
No. But it can be also a
The beauty of
cartel, right? It
architecture,
can be a cartel in some
I
form.
think that is a little bit more, I mean, unlikely because see, we are not, I'm not tied to any specific platform right
No,
now,
that's
right? My
true.
architectures are distributed, so I could buy something from Google and something from Amazon and something from Uber, and then it still works.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So still, people are under control
Mm-hmm.
in sense of what they consume, and I think there is, see, the only way you can influence, even if you look at democracy, the only way you can influence if people can come together in communities and discuss and share and then align. I think if I look at a technical community, that's happening quite a lot. So there is a democracy in a sense that because these all these companies, they have big developer networks,
Yeah,
communities who they serve
that's true.
in a
That's
way.
true. But they don't serve. So they affect. Okay, I agree with you. But the developer community that they serve is much smaller than the community that they affect, right?
Yes, so that's the P2P problem because now we have a very few people who are actually interfacing with these technologies. I mean, if I ask someone on the road, okay, what do you think about Google Cloud?
Exactly.
I don't think I'm gonna get any good response, right?
No.
So now the question is, if and that's we come back to where we started. Now, if we could have those tools accessible to a lot more people,
Mm-hmm.
and the knowledge and means available to a lot more people, then a lot more people will become the developer,
Mm-hmm.
thereby the stakeholders
True.
to this. Therefore, they're customers of these
Yes,
companies,
absolutely.
and hence they, I mean, then the democratic process will just become broader.
Yeah. No,
Because
you're
see, the
right.
thing is, the good thing is that right now the cost of starting something. So forget, I mean, if you go beyond that, if I look at the layered architecture of a cloud, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
go beyond the basic infrastructure, if I look at all these services up, I don't have to use, I mean, look at Kubernetes, for example. I mean, I don't have to use Google Kubernetes or Amazon Kubernetes. I could set up my own and I can run it if I so please. Or I could create a private cloud if I
Yeah,
want, if I
sure.
so that's
But
where
the barriers to entry are still pretty high in this case, right? So it would take you to learn
for
a
the
lot more
infrastructure,
skills, and,
yes,
so like just to get this
yes.
going and up and running, just to make sure that my listeners understand. I mean, this would cost, what we're talking about. If you were to set up like a Kubernetes structure at your house, how much do you have to? How much would it cost?
No, but the thing is, why would you do that
Right.
if you have easy tools available,
No, no,
right?
no.
So
True, true,
I think it's a,
true.
I think the good thing that we have right now is that the infrastructure is so layered
Hmm.
and flaked that if I want, I could pick up a problem and I could build a solution for that
Yes. Yeah.
using what is available, but
Yeah.
not depending upon
Yeah.
it.
No, you're
I
right.
think this is most important part, right? We're not dependent upon any specific platform or service. I could create my own service if I so
There's a
choose.
few things that are hard to kind of like, for example, Google BigQuery. BigQuery is not available anywhere else.
Yes, but it's like this, right? I have to be dependent upon the roads if I want to do a trade. I mean,
True. True.
or airports if I want to do my aerial commerce in some way. So there always some dependency
Yeah,
on
but this is
infra.
interesting, right? Because we to be clear here, because we're entering the territory of what usually governments or countries provide. Now Google and Amazon provide them, right? And I think we should
No,
become
but
conscious of
if
this change.
I think, see, this has been more like a public-private partnerships. I think most of the infrastructure is kind of created in. I mean,
Okay,
I don't know how it is in Europe.
you see, like Mariana Mazzucato. Are you familiar with Mariana
No,
Mazzucato?
no,
So she
no.
has this book called "The Entrepreneurial State," and I'll put a link under this as well, where she describes this private public partnership, which is very interesting because there again, some questions are raised there. Namely, so Apple, everything that's in the iPhone, almost everything that's in the iPhone is actually been produced by government money, right? So research and universities that's funded by taxpayers' money, and then the profits, though, the profits of the iPhone are not, made by the taxpayer, right? They're directly, and then there's this issue that they don't pay taxes very much, right? So they pay less taxes than they should, I guess. A lot of people argue. I would argue, and so then at the same time, so how do we benefit from this money that we put in, right? So we basically, everybody, whether you're a technologist or not, you're putting money into this pot and you don't even know it. In fact, the discourse in America is, the self-made man, the big corporation that pulled itself out of its own bootstraps, and Elon Musk is this guy, this hero who did it all on his own, but he didn't. He got a lot of payer money to do it, right? So how do you feel about that? So this is public-private partnership, and I agree that we need that. So we wouldn't have any nano. So to be sure, I'm not against this. I'm in fact for it, right? And so is this book, The Entrepreneurial State, right? But we should be upfront with it, right? So we shouldn't pretend
No, I
that
mean,
we're in a
see, I
free
don't
market.
have an opinion. I mean, that's not my area. That's not
Okay,
my
okay.
area of expertise. So I don't think I have the
Mm-hmm.
ability or basically the capability to comment on this.
Okay, okay, sure.
And
Fair enough.
again, see, my focus is always not on how it should be, but I just try to look at what is available to me, because I think I don't. I mean, I don't think ever, at least what I am aware of, or even in my lifetime, ever has been so much knowledge, resources, tools,
Mm-hmm.
opportunities available to each and every one of us
Absolutely.
ever
Yes, yes,
for for practically free of cost.
yes, that's true.
I have never seen that happen ever, and I think that if we want to argue about how it should be, I don't think we are gonna go far. But if we start looking at, I mean, see, for me, I mean, I just look at
You
myself.
mentioned the costs that they have. They're not they're free of cost, like in the sense that you don't have to pay for them right now. But you mentioned, I mean, you yourself were making this argument earlier that there are these costs that we don't account for, right? And actually, so they are
No,
there.
so see, there are there, but I'm talking about the cost that exists basically from the cost of setting up. So okay, let me. So if I have to set up a factory today,
Yeah.
I would have to look at a lot of different costs, not just financial costs, and that's one way of working. But let's say if I want to solve a problem in my village,
Mm-hmm.
that is to do something with, let's say, soil erosion or climate change, right?
Mm-hmm.
For that, if I want to, let's say, do use a basic tools to solve a problem, I don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can guess most of the tools I need for free. I could still do a lot more. And I like to look at opportunity that is available right now rather than think about what could be or how things should be, because things are seldom how they should be. They are not. Right? So we live in an imperfect world. And I think the best we can do, I think we have, what my point is, we have more than enough right now. And I think
Yeah, I can't argue with that. That's true.
before we start, before we start kind of pointing fingers at others, I think it's worth a reflection within ourselves and see, are we utilizing these to the best extent possible.
Mhm.
I think that is the most important kind of takeaway for me. So, and if I could just, if we could just work on that aspect,
Mhm.
the aware, again I come back to awareness, skills, and competence development. If you could just have that. I was reading a book and their main kind of argument was that the world is not how most people perceive it to be, and our mental model of the world is 20, 30 years old,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of things that we believe about the world are not really true. So the question is, how many of us are really willing to go ahead and look at the new world, the new reality that we live in, get more facts about it, look at the problems, think what problems we can solve,
Yeah.
and then actually do something about solving it, because I don't think if we can't solve the problem, no one else can, no one else will. And if you look at any of the great innovations or the companies, they started with one person trying to
Mhm.
solve a problem.
Mhm.
And that's why I meant by building organization around a person rather than trying to put people in the organizations,
Yeah. I agree. That,
right?
that's.
So uh, so I think that's where I think the P2P, the peer-to-peer is. I think peer-to-peer is a mindset,
Mhm.
that I basically, if I say for myself, uh, I don't want to be just a consumer of stuff, but I want to be a prosumer. So I want to create something. I want to do something more than just what I need to do to just kind of get my expenses or pay my bills. I want to do more. Once we have this mindset, then I start looking at problems. I say, okay, what can I do? And then I see there are 100,000 million different problems, and then I have to see what is it that I can solve. The same feasibility, desirability, viability. But when I look at the tool ecosystem and the knowledge ecosystem, I think that's tremendous. There is, see, most important, there's a community of people, yeah, community of people who are willing to help you,
Mhm.
and they're not asking for any money in return.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is amazing. And this is something that we should cherish and people should understand that. So we are in the P2P.
We should celebrate what has already been achieved.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. I do also think, though, that sometimes we have to push the envelope a little bit to think about what could be, in the sense that, how it could be a little bit better. Not in the sense that, how it would be perfect, because that's obviously a futile question for sure. There is no such thing.
No, but I think the utilization rate right now for most technologies is below 10%.
Mhm.
So I think once they go once we start using what we already have, I think that's when I want to think about how can I be improved. Right now,
Mm.
like no one is using anything. So
Yeah, okay.
we can solve a lot of problems right now
That's
without
true.
needing any support from the government
That's
or
true.
from the companies or anyone. We can just do it on our own. It's enough.
Absolutely. I hope that that our my listeners will be inspired by what you're saying there, and pick up those tools. And there will be a lot
Yes,
of talk about these tools on this show. And I think this is what what you're saying about having the courage to look at what there is, and what can be built. That's one part of what the show is about. The other one being what should be avoided, and I guess what can be built that's really gonna have a likely high impact that's positive. That's what I think we should really. I agree with that. So this is part of what this show is about. Is basically about up looking at possibilities and not just avoiding negative outcomes that we've been talking about in ethics. Ethics has become
yes,
this focused. There has just become this focus of not creating bad things. But I think that we have to really be focused on building really good things. I think.
absolutely. And I think, see, I mean, there is, I mean, a lot of times people kind of paint a lot of these entities and investors and companies, organizations in like a more negative light. But I have seen a lot of people who genuinely want to do something good. I have met investors who are saying, okay, show me a good initiative and we want to invest.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be good. It has to be good enough. It has to be something. Don't worry about the scalability. We know how to scale. We will scale it.
Yes, absolutely,
Just
absolutely.
show me that it works. So I think there are a lot of people out there who want to help, and you will. I mean, I can say myself,
Yeah, I agree.
when I came to this country,
Hmm.
I didn't know anyone, and now I think I'm so blessed, grateful to have this ecosystem, people supporting, and it's like I
When you're saying this country, just so we know.
Sweden. Okay, so I'm basically I live in Sweden, and I am originally from India. I came here like 5 years ago, and I think the support that I have got here, it's been amazing. I mean, a lot of things work on right now, I actually kind of learned it here in the last 5 years. So
Wow,
it's
fantastic.
been amazing.
Yeah, so fantastic. That's really inspiring. Well, it's been really fantastic and thought provoking to speak with you. Hopefully, we can
Yeah.
keep the discussion going. With the comment section, but also there will be related shows that will sort of nicely interconnect with what we were just talking about, and we can hopefully keep this a lively discussion that's ongoing, and it will be also a very global discussion. So we have people guests here, like you are from Sweden. I spoke with someone from the US yesterday, as well as someone from Dubai. So it's quite distributed.
Yeah, and I want to also kind of appreciate this initiative. I think it's a great initiative because I think a lot of these things they don't get discussed. That's always there. So I think it's also good that I'm really kind of very happy and want to congratulate you because putting this platform together and this initiative, I think it's a great and we might have a lot of opinions, but at least
Yeah,
as long as we have a forum to share it, I think we are making progress.
exactly. And if I say anything wrong or whatever, I encourage anyone who listens or watches to tell me that, hey, I don't like what you were saying there because of X, Y, Z or so on. Like, as long as things are
Yeah.
respectful and toward, so the other thing is if we argue, we should argue toward progress and not toward being right. I think this is
Yeah, I mean, of course, we are all. I mean, we are all learning, and because this was my disclaimer, right? I'm only sharing you how I think of it. It could be smart, it could be stupid. I don't know.
well, we're all learning together. It's a peer-to-peer process, actually, as you say, right? So this learning is a peer-to-peer process, and I guess this show
Exactly.
and what I'm trying to do here is exactly connected with what you're talking about with respect to the peer-to-peer economy. Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Johannes. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting. See you.
This show will be published every Wednesday, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will see you next week when I will be discussing techno-womanism with the originator of this concept, Shamika Klassen.
Techno-womanism is applying the womanist ethic to social justice issues that happen in and around the digital space and around technology.